Hello, everyone, and welcome to our What's New with Bluebeam Cloud and Review 21 webinar. We're very excited to be here today to talk to you guys about the latest and greatest changes with the newest version of Bluebeam. We have Raquel and Ari from our sales and renewal side and technical side, respectively, who are going to be showing us from both sides what's new and what to expect. Ari, can I have you jump over to that next slide for us? Just cover some logistics here before I hand it over. So all attendees will be muted throughout this presentation. If you do have questions throughout the presentation, please go ahead and send those over in the chat box, and we'll be answering those at the very end. Also, this webcast will be recorded for future viewing. We'll be uploading that on our YouTube channel, usually within the next couple hours after the webinar. And if you're registered for this webinar, you'll also be receiving an email with a link to watch that video. Bluebeam Revu Essentials and customized training is available, along with BCU certification training provided by Ari. It's very exciting. If you have any questions about that or anything else after the presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out to us here by calling us at 305-445-6480 or shooting us an email at info@ddscad.com. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Ari.
Thank you very much, Alan. Hi, everyone. I'm Ari. I'm the BCI here at Digital Drafting Systems. It'll be a pleasure to show you all some new features. And what I want to get started on is some new information with Bluebeam Revu 21 and Bluebeam Cloud. Bluebeam Cloud is very special because it allows us to work on a web browser. So now we can access our data basically anywhere we go. We don't really need to bring our dedicated laptop or device with us. Now, when it comes to Bluebeam Revu 21, it is now using the subscription model. So this includes the following. You'll basically get access to Bluebeam Cloud, and you can log in with your Bluebeam ID. If you've used Studio projects or sessions in the past, that will be the same login that you'll use. And when you buy a version of Revu 21, Bluebeam will send you an email that will prompt you to create a Bluebeam ID for your first time. So like I said, Bluebeam Cloud is a web browser-based service, and we'll go into that very, very soon. It also includes geolocational insights, so you can actually link your data to a location somewhere on planet Earth. It's actually quite nice. You can also track user activity with RFIs and punch lists, and there's revamped APIs that now exist within Bluebeam Cloud and Studio Prime itself. And so we have a bit more functionality and flexibility when we're creating studio projects and sessions with very specific settings. Also, just a little tidbit, Bluebeam University is included for free with Bluebeam Revu 21. So you can have access to learning some online data and getting your foot right into the door of learning how to use Revu 21. And of course, like we mentioned, I would be honored to train any of you all in the use of Revu. And our training courses basically last from about 4 to 6 hours, and we can customize it to any day and time that you need. Now, something that's really cool is that Revu 21 has now changed the names and the functionality for its 3 different versions. We used to have Standard, CAD, and Extreme, and now they've been replaced with Basics, Core, and Complete. So let's get into those differences now. So we can basically see that Revu 21 can be purchased and renewed annually, and we'll get more into the numbers on that very soon. And like I mentioned earlier, you can create a Bluebeam ID with your email in order to access your subscriptions features. Now, we have some charts here that go over some general differences between them. And we have some notes that are quite interesting because the key differences here are that with Revu Basics, you're now able to use redaction and optical character recognition. This was only available with Revu Extreme in the past. So now Revu Standard or Basics, which is now it's called Basics, now has that option. So that's quite nice. Now, there are some differences that we basically removed some features from Basics and moved them to the other versions. So for example, there are some specialty markups that are only included in Core and Complete. And basically, there are some extra capabilities that allow us to navigate larger PDF sets that are also only included in Core and Complete. For example, there are some measuring tools such as dynamic fill that are now not available in Basics or Core. So you can see here, dynamic fill is only available in Revu Complete now. So I tend to teach that when I do our training courses, and it's a feature that's not always used, and so you'll need Revu Complete in order to utilize it effectively. Now, moving on, we have a few other differences, and instead of just looking at this basic chart, I want to show you guys something a little bit different. So let me navigate to our website here. There we are. So we're on Bluebeam's site. You can go to bluebeam.com/pricing. And I've scrolled down to see more details about what's different in both versions. And what you can do is you can collapse this category and you can see that there's all these categories here of different information. So you can get specific details on what's new with Basics, Core, and Complete and the differences between them. So for example, with Basics, you won't have access to the Capture tool, which was available with Review Standard. So Capture is now available with Core and Complete. So we do recommend that you do get Core for many of the functionality that you may be used to with Standard. And Complete, of course, will have that and more. Other examples of that are that we won't really be able to calibrate tool sets that dynamically resize with different scales and viewports in Basics. And there's other details here. We're not going to get into every little detail here, but let's go into the measurement section. I just want to show you guys what happened here. And basically with measurements, when it comes to creating cost analysis formulas and custom columns, we won't be able to do that with Basics. Basics is definitely a very lightweight version of Review that is basically for light markups, some measurements, and not really meant for cost analysis, quantity takeoffs, and other fancier things. Now, the measuring tools that we're used to, some of them will be available in Basics, but the specific ones here, perimeter, volume, angles, and the count tool will not. They'll be available in Core and Complete. And when it comes to using quantity link, this was always available with Review Extreme, and so it's still available in Complete. And here is that detail about dynamic fill. It is now available in Complete only as well. And so you all can now navigate to the site and look and see if there's more details that have changed here. There's a lot to cover, so basically you'll want to check and see if your tool that you need is available here. That way you can make an informed decision if you're getting new licenses. So let's go back. I actually wanted to show you guys a bit of the Bluebeam Cloud component. It's actually quite cool. Let's go back to our presentation here. So Bluebeam Cloud, we talked about a little earlier. Now I want to show you guys a quick demo on how it works. So we'll go back to our web browser, and I've already logged into Bluebeam Cloud. Now all you need to do to access Bluebeam Cloud is to go to app.bluebeam.com. Once you go there, you have the option of working in two separate spaces. You have My Workspace and you have the Projects area. My Workspace is almost like working with local files. Obviously, the file is not housed on our PC anymore, but you can directly upload files here and begin working on them quickly. So I'm just going to open up this file that you guys have seen if you've ever seen our other presentations, and if you've trained with me, you've seen this file before, and I want to show you guys some very interesting features. What happens is that there are certain markups that can be used in Bluebeam Cloud and others that can only be modified if they already exist in your PDF. You'll also notice something else on the bottom right, which I'll talk about first. We have an image on the bottom right. I'm just going to zoom in with the little zoom tool down here, and I'll just navigate there. We have to use the middle mouse wheel in order to navigate, so we can click it down like a button and we can pan around. Because if you try to use the left click, which many people are used to doing, you can actually select multiple markups, and that's very similar to using the select tool when you swap between the pan tool and the select tool in the program. So you can see this image here. And if you're familiar with this document from previous trainings and webinars, this image doesn't really look like this. It typically has a white background, and it looks like the colors have essentially inverted themselves in certain assets of the image. Now, there are some assets that have maintained their colors, such as these tools here. So some colors and some transparent images will essentially look a little bit different in Bluebeam Cloud. However, in order to avoid this, if you don't need to modify your image and move it around, before you upload it to Bluebeam Cloud, you can flatten it, and this will fix the issue. And a good example of this is this image up here. This was already flattened to the document, so there's no inversions, even though it does have a transparent background. So you can flatten your images and still view them as they're supposed to be viewed if you flatten them and then upload them to Bluebeam Cloud. Now, let's look at some other specifics here. We can actually see that on the left side, we have our toolbox right here. So we can open this up, and it's actually going to pick up on tools from the program that you have. Now, we have an uncategorized area, which is not really necessary, but our architect and contractor review are there, just like we saw in the program, including the engineer review. And then here's my tool chest. This is the same one that I have in my program. And because I signed in with my Bluebeam ID, it automatically brought in my tool chest from Review 21. And of course, I had Review 20 prior to this, so my tool chest automatically migrated to 21 and then to Bluebeam Cloud. So that's how you can get your tools on here. Just make sure you set them up there. Now you'll notice something that may seem alarming at first. You'll see a lot of question marks on some tools, and when you mouse over them, it's going to say this markup type is not supported. Not all tools can be used in Bluebeam Cloud. Bluebeam Cloud is meant for very quick markups when you're on the field, And the markups that are available, you can see them here on the left side. So we can create clouds. We have this vector pen, so I can essentially draw anything that I want. I can also make boxes if I need to. So with the vector pen, if you click and hold, you can make a box like this. If you click and let go, you can essentially draw lines. So this is replacing the line tool essentially. And then we have the A inside of a square, which is of course our text box. So we're very familiar with using that. So we can create text boxes. Arrows are very similar to using the line tool. They just have an arrow at the end. And what's nice is that once you have a markup selected, you can see that we can modify some properties at the top of our screen. This is not as extensive as using the properties panel in Bluebeam Revu 21, but it does have some options. So we can change the line's opacity. We can change what kind of arrow we have. So I actually prefer this arrow right here. And there's a few other options that we have up here. Now, we also have the callout tool, highlighter, and we can insert images as well. And when you insert images through this tool here, the images usually do not come in inverted. So existing images, you'll want to flatten them. But if you do want your image to not be flattened and be able to be moved around, just use the insert image tool. It's a really good workaround for that. And so you can see here that every single one of my tool groups has actually been migrated in. A lot of them are working well. So snapshots and images themselves that are in the tool chest are working great. So all of my plumbing tools came out pretty good. I also have some doors. I have HVAC and office furniture, etc. And it's coming in alphabetical order. So it's rearranged the order of some of my tools. So now we're at P, and then more P, et cetera, et cetera. And then never mind. It actually is not alphabetical order. It seems like my tools are in a bit of a different order than I'm used to, but the tools themselves have come in, so we can then utilize them directly on here. So snapshots are a great way to get custom tools that are not part of the normal tool set into Bluebeam Cloud, and then you can insert those images or snapshots very easily. Now, that's the workspace portion of Bluebeam Cloud. And this is great, but let's actually look at how we can now manage RFIs, punch lists, and where we can locate our data. So I just clicked on the back button, and now I'm going to click on projects here. And I've already made a project for today's presentation. So I'm just going to double click on it, and it's going to load it up here. What you can do with your project is you can initially assign it a location. So I've already done that. This is our address here for our office. So we do training remotely and on site. So now you can see how far away we are from your office. And you can actually click on the location and it takes you to Google Maps. So now Bluebeam Cloud is working directly with Google Maps, and essentially it will show us where a lot of things have changed, or excuse me, where our location is. So here we're close to the Miami Lakes Educational Center. So I'm just going to close out of this because we don't need Google Maps on right now. And what we can now do is we can assign admins. So we can control who is seeing what and who can control what files in our workspace. So I can view the team. So I've got Alan and Raquel here, of course. And just for demonstration purposes, I've set Alan as an admin, Raquel as a member. Of course, I can change that at any time. Members are allowed to add markups. Viewers can only view files, and admins can control everything along with deleting files if they need to. And so that's how that works. Of course, I trust Raquel, guys. Don't worry. I would make her an admin any day. So I'm just going to go back to our dashboard here. And the dashboard is great because it shows us basically an overview of everything. And then we have these side panels here that are only part of the workspace that show us specific details. So what I've also done is I've added some drawings here. If you add a file with multiple pages, each page comes in as a separate page. And that's why they're also a little bit out of order from what I've used to, because they're naming them according to their numbers. So we can see some of the drawings here and we can access them. So I'm just going to go into the A2.1 one. And this is very similar to going back to our workspace area. This is the project area. I think I said the wrong label before, excuse me. So this is our projects area now. And this is similar to the workspace where we can access our files and we can use our tools just like I showed you guys earlier. However, what's different about this is we do have two new panels here. We have the RFI button right here, the punch button, and on the right side, we can add some comments and shapes. We have another punch tool and the view RFIs area. So we can basically view any existing RFIs if they exist. We can then add punches if we need to. Now, we can't really add them from here. This is more of a viewing the punches. If we want to add a punch, this is the difference between both buttons. So here, I would then add a punch bullet right here, for example, and then I can give it a lot of information. So I can assign it a location, give it a description, say what priority it is, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's how you can basically use this. Also, we have the RFI button. Now, we would only be able to select existing RFIs when using this. So I'll show you how we can create RFIs right now. Let's click on our back button up here. And like I said, you can see that I'm in a web browser right now. So you can access this from anywhere. It's a really nice way to have a lot of flexibility when doing your work. And you don't have to bring a device with Review 21 with you if you only need to use some basic tools and get some work done on the field. So I can go to documents. We already saw that in our dashboard. So I basically have this folder with floor plans, and then my example one is here. So we don't need to look at that again. Here we have the punch area, so we can see that there's different punches, and the one that I just added now appears here. So this one is basically here and ready to go. Actually, no, excuse me. I made this punch a little while ago. Sorry about that. So I've assigned a priority to this one. It's high. Its status is open. So if I click on this, I can then view it and modify any of its data that I need to. So I decided to give it a fun description. I don't know if anybody knows that reference. And we can scroll down here and we can even upload photos that are related to our punch. So I've just uploaded this fun photo of the Cloud Plus tool, one of my favorite tools, but you can imagine how this can be used when you take photos on site and you want to relate them to a punch location on your drawing. So that's basically what this is for. Now let's go to the RFI area. And you can see that I just have a draft here. This is basically requesting what's new with Bluebeam Revu 21. I want to know too. And so that's basically what I've done. I've just simulated that question. So the subject is here. You can put more data in the question area. The distribution list means who you're going to be sending this RFI to. So in this case, I'm asking Alan because of course he's an expert, right? And then we can go to our due date here and we can assign due dates. We can choose between different kinds of impacts, whether it's cost and schedule or either or neither of them. And then we can have attachments here with files that are associated with this RFI. And so that file is similar to just sending an RFI by email, but this has much more information and we can manage it better here with Bluebeam Cloud. And then you can see more details here. It's saying who requested it. So it's got my information here, et cetera, et cetera. You can even give it a project code. Now this is a draft right now, so I haven't sent this yet. So when I'm ready, I can send it. But what I've done, just to show you all, is I've just saved it. So I'm just gonna save my draft and now you all know that you can send your RFIs when you're ready. There's even a submittals area. So when you're ready, you can essentially add a submittal and upload a submittal log. So it's quite nice. You can keep track of all of your submittals here. I typically use Studio Projects in order to store all of my submittals, but you can also use Bluebeam Cloud so you can access them via web browser. Also, just a little quick thing. There is a view up here. We can switch between file view and map view. And because I've input our address as our location, it's going to make me confirm that and find one that is similar to what I've typed in. So it happens to be this one right up here. Then I say, OK. And now instead of using Google Maps, we can basically use the actual geolocation aspect that comes with Bluebeam Cloud. So we can see all of our data here. And this is kind of where we're located. I believe this is our building right here. So that's how all that works. And that is Bluebeam Cloud. There's much more to it, of course. There's many little details here and there. So there is a web page that you can go to get started and learn more about these details. So you can go to support.bluebeam.com/articles/get-started-in-bluebeam-cloud. And you can see that this is a very extensive web page. So this is a great way to get started and you can learn more about what I talked about here and get more details, including my favorite part, which I believe is near the bottom. I believe the map geolocation area. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, I don't see it here. It may be in another list. There's a lot of different FAQs, everyone. So please, oh yes, here it is. Here's our map view. I was looking for the image. So you can learn more about that map view and see how you can use it better. I basically explained it, but they have instructions right here. All right, so that's how Bluebeam Cloud works. So let's go back to our presentation and let's see what's next. So I did go over some of the differences between Basics, Core, and Complete. We're actually going to now let Raquel tell us more about the real differences in terms of pricing. So let me switch to our web browser before we do that. So it's this one. And Raquel, please tell us more.
Hi, thank you, Ari. Hi, everybody. So like Ari mentioned, Bluebeam has made the transition to subscription licensing model, offering 3 packages very similar to the 3 editions that they had with the perpetual licenses, Standard, Cat, and Extreme. But like Ari mentioned, not all the feature content is the same. So when you're going to get one of those packages, make sure you check with us or check what package will fit your needs better. Review Basics is available at $240. The Review Core is available at $300, and Review Complete is $400. These are list prices. They are billed annually, so this is an annual subscription. And of course, these are list prices. You always get a discount when you buy from us. If you buy directly from Bluebeam, which you can, you don't get a discount. So we highly advise that you buy from us, or at least check prices before. So Review Basic, Core, and Complete can be bought by any of you if you have any licenses or if you don't. Obviously, if you don't have any licenses at all, this is the way to go. Perpetual licenses are not available anymore for purchase. If you do have a perpetual license, you can still buy a subscription if you want to do a mix. Or if you have certain things like maintenance, then you will have some benefits. Before I jump into that, I just wanted to mention that the Bluebeam subscriptions, review subscriptions, are named user licenses. So they will not have any serial number and product key anymore. So when you install them, you just have to install them and log in with your BB your Bluebeam ID, like Ari mentioned before, and he's showing on the page. So that's a very nice difference, which you don't have to get tracking serial numbers and product keys and all of that. If you do have a Bluebeam ID, which is used for Studio, like Ari mentioned, then you can use the same one for your login to your product. Let's see. So now, if you are a customer that owns a license already, you have options. Let's say that you have licenses with maintenance. If you have a perpetual license, it doesn't matter if it's standard, CAD, or extreme with maintenance, you have the following options. You have the option to migrate to a subscription at any time within a year. Why? Because in September of 2023, so a year from now, maintenance is going to be discontinued. Right now, you cannot buy perpetual licenses anymore, but if you do have licenses with maintenance, guess what? You will be able to keep buying perpetual licenses added to your pool and get maintenance prorated to your renewal date. Before the end of September next year, you need to make a decision of transition or not. So if you decide to transition, which you can do at any time, like I said, you have the option to transition your all perpetual licenses to Review Complete. So it doesn't matter if you come from standard or CAD or extreme, you're going to get the benefit of getting Review Complete at a discounted price. It's not going to be a 400, no scaring moment here. You will have the current maintenance rate for you, for your subscription renewal. So let's say that right now you have Review Standard. Your current maintenance renewal price right now is 109. When you do the transition to subscription, your subscription renewal rate will be based on 109. If you have Review CAD, which maintenance renewal price right now is 129, when you do the subscription to Review Complete, your Review Complete subscription will renew at 129. So that is really a good discounted price you're going to have for your transitioned subscriptions. If you have Review Extreme, then renewal price is 159 right now. When you transition to Complete, your subscription will be renewing at 159. Every year after year one, that means after September of next year, the renewal price will increase in 10%. So that's the way that the perpetual licenses transition to subscription. Now, enterprise and open licenses are different story. Open licenses, which for those that don't know, open license is kind of like a floating model where you get one or two licenses. You can install it in as many computers as you want, but you can only use those that you purchase, one or two or how many you bought concurrently at the same time. So those open licenses are going to transition to subscription in a different way. For every open license you have, you're going to get 5 Review Complete. The transition price is going to be $200 per Review Complete. So that's the way that open license transition. And all the features and benefits that you have with Enterprise currently are going to be included in subscriptions. So if you have Enterprise right now, when you migrate to transition to subscription, you will have that included. So that's not a problem out there. The way that you transition your subscription is simple. You just go to a link on your I'm sorry, you go to a web store. So this is Ari's showing you where you go. You go to store.bluebeam.com. If you're new and you don't have a BB ID, a Bluebeam ID, you just need to create it. And if you already have it, You just sign in here and you get into the portal. It's very self-explanatory. You're going to get to your perpetual license. You're going to click where it says it's a transition to subscription, and boom, you have it done. Now, if you have enterprise or open license, then you do need to do the transition through us, because we need to do it manually with Bluebeam through a different route. Okay. Now, what happens if you don't want to transition right away? You remember, you have a whole year until September 2023. If you have maintenance, but you don't want to transition right away, that's fine. You have option B. You can keep using your perpetual license for a while until very close to September next year. And as long as you migrate before the end of September next year, you can keep using your perpetual license. If your renewal is coming up anytime soon, our suggestion is renew your maintenance first. Let's say your renewal comes now in November, December, January, renew, and then you have time to transition before September next year. You can also buy more perpetual licenses. You can keep adding perpetual licenses to your pool, and then at the end of the year, you can transition all of them to subscription. If your license is not transition by the end of September next year, then that is where we have a problem. You can either transition right away before the end of September, or you will be keeping your perpetual license until Bluebeam decides to discontinue Review 20. So that means that you will not be able to get Review 21, and you will not be on a current subscription licensing model with all the benefits of Bluebeam Cloud and enhanced features. All right. Now, what happened to those customers that don't have maintenance? If right now you have a perpetual license and you don't have maintenance, unfortunately, you cannot buy maintenance anymore, and you cannot add new perpetual licenses anymore. But you can keep using your perpetual license as long as you need it, and you can add new licenses by buying regular subscriptions. What do I mean with regular? It means that you're going to buy Review Basics or Core or Complete at the regular price, to 40, 300, or 400. That doesn't mean that customers with Review with maintenance, they can also add subscriptions at regular price if they want to do a mix, but they have the benefit that they can transition at lower price. Now, let's make a note about the previous versions, which is very important. As of March of next year, which sounds very far, but it's not far, it's right around the corner, 5 months from now, Bluebeam is going to discontinue support for Review 2019, 18, and previous versions. What does this mean for you? If you do not have maintenance, because if you do have maintenance, you can always upgrade to 20 and you will be fine. But if you don't have maintenance, you have to use whatever you have, right? Okay, so by end of March 2023, if you have a crash on your computer where you have 19 or 18 or 17, you will not be able to transfer this license to another computer or re-register in the same computer when you fix the crash. And this is a very important issue that I see with most of you that don't have, the ones of you that don't have maintenance and have a previous version. If you have Review 20 without maintenance, you're fine. Review 20 is going to be still supported. You're going to be using that license, receiving updates as long as Bluebeam puts them out. You're going to be okay. But Review 19 and previous, guys, make sure that you have good computers, or if not, you have time now, you have 5 months to transfer those licenses to good computers so that you know that they are going to be working fine. Okay, let's see, what am I missing? Okay.
Thank you, Raquel. Right. I actually wanted to add as well that we have been talking with some of the executives at Bluebeam to address this issue about, if a computer crashes, will you be able to re-register it after March of 2023? And the final answer on this isn't quite clear. So we will be updating our information, and please contact us to learn more about that, because we do hope that that will be available to anybody that does have a previous version.
Yes, we do. Yeah, yes. They announced that they were not going to do that, but once that they saw we were all complaining about it, I guess that they are rethinking, but we don't know the final answer about it.
I also wanted to mention that if you're using any data in Studio projects and sessions, it will not be available in Review 2019 and prior versions after March of 2023.
Oh, yes, that's very important. So if you have previous versions, but you are used to use Studio, that's Ari, that's a very good point. Then you're gonna need to make sure that you save all that information. If you need help, you can always call Ari and he can help you with that. What happens after you transition to subscription, you have review complete, everything is beautiful, you're using Bluebeam Cloud, and then a whole year passes, after September of next year, we are on year 2. You should keep using Review Complete because you have a low price that you got when you transition. You will have the ability to go back, but the price will not change. So that will be an advantage that you keep doing your Review Complete. But of course, if you need to add other licenses to your pool, then you have the option to buy Review Basics or Core. If you decide after 1 or 2 years not to renew, and some of you that are used to the Autodesk licensing model, you know this, then you will lose the license and you will not be able to get back and get a discounted price. Now, if you transition during this year 1, and you don't like what you see, or you are not used to the subscription, you can always go back to your perpetual license if you want to. But remember that by the end of September next year, you are going to have to transition anyway. So if you have doubts, well, the best way is just to delay your transition a little bit. Okay, about Studio Prime, I wanted to just mention really quick, there's no changes. So for you guys that use Studio Prime is still the same, it's still supported. So you're not gonna have any changes or anything big into that area. Oh, that's all I have. Ari?
Thank you, Raquel. Thank you very much. I wanted to let you all know that we have a lovely resources slide here, and there's a lot of good websites here that we can use to learn more about Review 21 and to manage our subscriptions and get more information. Firstly, like I mentioned earlier, the Bluebeam Cloud login is app.bluebeam.com. If you want to learn more about onboarding and geolocational insights within Bluebeam Cloud, the link to that website is right there. And more information on Bluebeam Cloud in general is right there in support.bluebeam.com/bluebeam-cloud. Also, we already showed this, but if you guys wanted to see for yourself, you can compare Bluebeam Revu's 3 versions, Basics, Core, and Complete at bluebeam.com/pricing. And at the bottom here, we have many different links for a lot of the data that Raquel was talking about. So if you want to learn more about licensing and installation, you can go to this link, along with the subscription management guide and the subscription FAQ, which are very important resources. Now, the information here is subject to change. Bluebeam is getting user feedback, and they are making some changes to some of the data here. So basically, you want to check that periodically and see what is changing. And you can also, there's a really nice feature here, you can actually access your Bluebeam subscription offline temporarily. There's 2 nuances to this. The first nuance is that you can actually, if you sign in and then you use the program, and let's say your internet goes out or you need to go on the field and you're using a special Surface Pro tablet, for example, you can actually continue to use Bluebeam Revu 21 without an internet connection for 14 days. Now, if you need to use it for longer than that, let's say you're going on a trip somewhere, you can basically go to this article here and go to this website. And I believe basically they'll point you to contacting Bluebeam and telling them, hey, I'm going to be going away from internet for a while, so we need to continue using our program without using internet. And then Bluebeam can make some special accommodations for that.
That's
also,
right.
You can use Bluebeam Revu 21 without a subscription. So you can learn more about the nuances with that. And the end of life FAQ is quite important, especially if you're using Review 2019 and prior. So you can go to this article here and learn more.
Ari,
Yes.
based on these resources that are very, very good, I invite everybody to check them out. The subscription management guide is really a guide for you when you buy a new subscription. What are you going to expect? So when you buy a new subscription, the person that buys or is the main contact of the subscriptions of the company, that will be the person that will buy the license, will get an invite for the first time email, it accepts the invitation. So the subscription management guide will guide you through all those steps. Are very simple, are very similar to the Autodesk model. If you guys are used to that model. So you receive an invite email, you open that email, you go to the link the first time, the second time you always log into it, and then you have an Active Directory where you can add users, assign the licenses to the users, and take it from there. So that management guide, it will show you how to do it, but it's very simple.
All right, thank you, Raquel. All right, everyone, we'd like to open the floor for questions because we know that many of you will have some questions. So, Alan, do we have any questions in our little chat box?
Yep. So I'll go ahead and read the first one. Anybody who does have any questions about anything that's come up during the presentation here, please go ahead and send those over in the chat box. So the first question is, I have 2 computers. Can I use the same review subscription license in both? I know that with my perpetual license, I could only activate one computer at any time.
Ari?
Yes, you can. And this is the benefit of the sign-in model. So I'll go back to the program and show you all. Once you get Review 21 and you sign in here on the upper right side, you can sign in on multiple devices. We believe the number of devices is 5. On the website, it may say 3, but they're currently changing that. And this is concurrent. So you can have them all signed in at the same time with the same email address on up to 5 devices. So yes, no problem. You have 2 computers, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, but of course, this means that this is a named user license. That this means that the license is for a user, but they are accommodating your needs of having a computer at the office, a tablet at on the field, a laptop at home, or when you're traveling. So that's the idea behind all of this.
Okay, great. Another question here. Based off of other subscription models that we've seen and assigning licenses, does each user need to have their own email address?
Yes, the answer is yes, but this is something that is really, really new. So I don't know if they will make changes to that, but for now, is yes. Because the license is a name user license, you will need to have a different email address for every user, and you will add those users in the Active Directory or the portal, and you assign the license to that user. And that will be the email address the user will use to log into his license.
Okay. Let me see here. What else we got? Yeah, I think that was what I had here. If anybody else has any other questions, feel free to write those in here.
Don't be shy. Ask
Okay.
questions. All we can say is we don't know.
Okay. Somebody said one more question, but they didn't send the question. Okay, go ahead and send over your questions here. All right. Can you please elaborate on the functionality differences between Review Extreme and 21?
Yes, I believe that they're referring to Review Complete, which is Review 21's new name for Review Extreme. Yes, so like I mentioned earlier, I'll just go back to the website here and we'll look at those differences. All the differences can be found here by going to bluebeam.com/pricing. Happens to be the same site where you'll initially see the cost for Bluebeam. Just scroll down all the way and you can see all the features here. So for example, when it comes to Complete and Extreme, actually, let me go back to one of our slides here because on our presentation, I have some notes that should help us with that. So I'll just go back to right here. So basically with Extreme, now we basically still have the same functionality between Complete and Extreme. There aren't really any differences there. The only difference is what is now allowed in Complete compared to what's allowed in Core and Basics. So yes, that's a good question. Basically, Complete and Extreme are almost identical. There aren't many new features in Review 21's actual toolkit, but the main feature is just signing into the program, and you won't notice major differences from Review 20 to Review 21 if you're using Review Complete or Extreme. So yes, excellent question.
Okay.
Let's go back to our presentation. There we go.
Perfect. Okay, another question I had come up here was at the end of my at the end of the year of subscription, if I choose not to renew, do I lose access to my license, or is it like perpetual where I continue to have access?
That is a great question. It's something that is in the works from Bluebeam side. Our understanding is that you will revert back to review 20, but in other cases they say that you lose the access. So that I don't have an answer for that, Alan, right now. That's something that I'm waiting for. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, my understanding of this subscription model would be, at least from other similar situations that we've seen, would be that at the end of that year, if you are not renewing, you would lose access to that software.
And at
But
that point,
again,
it would be very important that then if they use Studio and they have projects in the cloud, they download all of that information and save it locally just in case they don't lose it.
correct.
Yeah. That's another thing. I don't know if they have asked about it. Another thing kind of related to that is that if you do a transition, but you don't want to go to review 20, not yet, you can still keep using your perpetual licenses to avoid disruption of your current projects and keep using review 20 until you're ready to just jump to review 21. That you can do.
Mhm. Right. All right. Here would be the next one. Would subcontractors who have not purchased a license but are invited to the project's Bluebeam Studio be able to access the project?
Ari?
Yes, and specifically to a studio session. Studio projects, you can't do that. But yes, that functionality is still the same from Review 20 and previous versions. And now with Review 21 subscription, you can create a studio session, and then you can just ask your subcontractors that maybe they've never heard of Bluebeam Revu. All they need to do is install the program. They can create a Bluebeam ID with their email for free. Once that's done, you can then invite them to your studio session. And in your studio session only, they can create markups and measurements and use the functionality of review basics, essentially. So they will have some functionality there. It's similar to being able to use review standard in studio sessions for previous versions. Now, when it comes to local files, they will not be able to work on local files because they'll be in view only mode. So in your studio session, it'll be a great way for them to be introduced to the program, and then it'll also help them to make an informed decision on whether or not they actually want to purchase the program for future use. But yes, excellent question.
Okay. All right, here's another one. For users having the Extreme package with maintenance slash support, is the migration to Review Cloud completely free? And if the migration is done, so is it completely free if the migration is done prior to the expiration of the license?
This transition to subscription is completely free. It's totally free. You just go to the web store, get in there, do the transition. You have to pay nothing, zero. Now, the rate at what you transition, maybe that might be a confusion right there when I explained it. When you transition, the next renewal that you will have, it will be based at the rate you had before you transition, unless your next in your next renewal subscription before the increase of 10% on the year two. So let's say that now you have review standard with maintenance at 109 renewal price, and your renewal is in April, but you want to transition now because you want to have review 21 and Bluebeam Cloud, right? So you transition now, no cost, zero, and then you get review 21 complete. When April comes in, you renew in that moment at 109 per license. I hope that answers the question.
At least for the first renewal, right? And then an
For the
increase of
first,
10%
and then
for
it
the
increases
following.
10% for the following renewal.
Right. Okay, here is a clarification, not on the question you just answered, but the one prior. So to clarify, they will have access to the session, but not the studio project, correct?
Yes, exactly. With studio projects, you do need a subscription in order to use it, or of course a perpetual license to use, projects in Review 20 and prior. And yes, with sessions, that is where the flexibility begins. Just like with studio sessions, how you can work on the same PDF at the same time with anyone, you can also invite anyone you want in order to work in your session only and use markups and measurements. So yes, with studio sessions exclusively. At least you can still log into Studio for free, but you won't have access to studio projects without a paid license. So yes, excellent question.
Will there still be a viewer version of Review available for no cost?
Yes, so anyone can download and install Bluebeam Revu. And basically the same concept that we see in Review 20 and prior still exists. Actually, I take that back. Usually with Review 20 and prior, there's a section under the Review dropdown here that shows view mode and markup mode. Instead of that, basically, they've eliminated the need for those buttons with Review 21 because now when you sign in, if you sign in with an unpaid account, it will say that your package is essentially unpaid. In my case, it's complete, meaning that I've paid and I'm using Review 21 complete. So yes, you can. That's essentially how you can use Review in a viewer mode. So you can still view PDFs, and the viewing options and settings are quite nice. So, and it's a great way to start using the program and then work in somebody's session to really use those markup and measurement tools. But yes, exactly. Now your sign-in will dictate whether you're in view mode or not, and whether or not your email is associated with a paid license. So that is a great clarification. Good question.
All right. Is
Alan,
there any? Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just
Go ahead.
got answer back from Lubin confirming what I was thinking. Okay, so about that question, going back to what happens if you transition, year one is gone, and now in year two you don't want to renew the subscription. So if you don't want to renew the subscription, then remember that in order to maintain all the benefits of Bluebeam Cloud and all the new enhancements, you would need to renew your subscription, maintain it active. But if you decide not to renew it, then you can always go back to the previous version that you owned, and then you will lose whatever you did in Bluebeam Cloud. So you need to, previous to that, you need to download that data, save it locally, and things like that. Now, remember that if what you owned before was a 2019, if you were used to working with 2019, you're going to have to go to 20. But because you have maintenance, you can go to 20. Because if you didn't have maintenance, you cannot transition. So basically, yes, you can go back to your perpetual license, but you will lose all the benefits. And Review 20 eventually is going to have an end of life, which is not going to be now, but it's going to be probably in a year or so.
Okay.
So.
All right. And so to clarify one of those prior questions, to clarify Review Extreme 20 so to clarify, Review Extreme 20 with maintenance, the renewal would be 149 for the first year, then 10% increase each year after, capped at a retail price of 400.
Okay, so first of all, and I don't know if I mentioned it, the maintenance renewal prices this year increased. So Review Extreme maintenance renewal price, which has been for a long time the same, it was 149. Now it's 159. It's not a big increase. It's only $10. Just the same as CAD increased from 119 to 129, and standard increased from 99 to 109. So yes, if you transition, your 159 price will be your next subscription renewal price, but then on the year above, it will be 10% increased. Was that the question?
Yep, and then that caps off at the retail price of 400.
Well, that's what they
Right?
say. They are going to be increasing 10% every year until everything levels out.
Okay.
With
Got it.
the retail price.
Mhm. All right. Is there any current support for Review 21 on Mac?
No, sadly, Review basically, or Bluebeam has discontinued creating Bluebeam Revu for Mac computers. I believe it happened in 2019. I don't remember the exact date off the
Yes.
top of my head. So basically the best workaround for this is, instead of trying to get the program directly on Mac or using a very old version of Review for Mac, you'll want to install something that's similar to Parallels or Boot Camp, basically to have a Windows partition or a Windows viewer mode on your computer, so that you can basically switch to that mode and use Bluebeam Revu there. That'll be the best way to use the most up-to-date version of Revu, because Revu for Mac had many bugs and they discontinued patching it in 2019. So you'll want to be careful and use Revu for Windows on a Mac through a program such as Parallels or an equivalent. So yes, that's what we recommend now. And Bluebeam doesn't have any intentions, from what we've seen, of developing anything for Mac at this time directly. But the workaround seems to be solid. We have many clients that are using Parallels, or there's many different programs that are similar to it, and it's allowed them to use Revu for Windows effectively on a Macintosh computer. So yes, excellent question.
Yep. I will add as well that although there is no support for Review 21 itself, you could theoretically do any of that browser interaction that Ari was showing before. So that all would work on a Mac as well, in theory. So if you were on a Mac, for example, temporarily, and you needed to do a quick markup, you could do that through that browser as well.
Oh, that's a good point, Alan. To clarify what Alan was saying, he meant that you can use Bluebeam Cloud in a web browser on a
Correct.
Mac computer. So yes, that is a good workaround if you need to use Bluebeam Revu without installing a separate partition or parallels, for example. But yes, you can use Bluebeam Cloud in a web browser on any computer. But if you want to use the actual program with all of the features that you're used to with Bluebeam Revu itself, that's when you'll need to actually get a partition and use parallels, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, that is another benefit of Bluebeam Cloud. You can use it in a web browser, and it's not stuck to a Windows computer. It can also be used on a Mac computer. Excellent. Great clarification, Alan.
All right, well, I think that's all we've got on questions for now. So let's go ahead and jump to that next slide. All right, well, so thank you all for being here. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while this afternoon. And thank you for attending our webinar. Some quick little information before you go here. So we have created tutorials for the last couple of years, which you can find on our Knowledge Center blog on our website. That's the link that Ari's got there, ddscad.com/knowledge-center/bluebeam/bluebeam-review. Or you can just go to our website and look for it in the top menu there. Got a lot of really good tips and tricks, workflows, things like that a lot of our customers have found very, very helpful. Additionally, as was mentioned earlier, we do offer Bluebeam Revu training as well. And if you'd like more information on that or any of the other services we provide, including purchasing the software itself, we'd be more than happy to help with that. Just go ahead and give us a call here at the office, 305-445-6480. Or shoot us an email at info@ddscad.com. Okay, thank you all so much. Have a good afternoon.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.